This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. And today's Avoid the Maze is with a very talented woman who is now what I'm calling a rock star. And the reason she's on Avoid the Maze is because life itself is the maze. There's no direct line from where to begin to where we're going. The journey has twists, turns, and throws obstacles in our way. But at each intersection, we have choices. And when we walk with mindfulness, we become more attuned to our surroundings and the unexpected opportunities that rise with each step. Alison Tucker has chosen at the very young age of 60 to come out with an album. Now, Alison, if you talk to the media, they probably are saying, you're about 4 decades too late. But you and I know it's never too late. So welcome and take us on a journey.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time and this opportunity. I'd like to start with my moniker. This is the way that I close all of my emails and sign them. I believe in second chances. It's really funny. Some of my exes would say I've run out of chances. But I do believe in second chances. And fortunately, about 5 years ago, I got this second chance. Life has painted a colorful tapestry for me. I came to Austin, Texas when I was 18 years old. Drove out of West Texas with almost the wheels burning. I was driving so fast to leave. I landed in Austin as a poor, stupid 18-year-old with no education and nothing but ideas of what life was going to be. Not that I was stupid. I was just 18.
Well, of course, at 18, we know everything and we know nothing.
You know, the beauty of youth. I started playing music in Austin in the gay circuit, and eventually came out to my parents as well, which the music went much better than coming out to my parents. And as every child wants, their approval.
Sure.
And to eat, I took on another job and went back to school, and I entered corporate America for 20 years. Very successful technical support job. I am not only a right brain, but a left brain person. I provided global technical support for many years and had the opportunity to turn into quite the geek and a handy person. And eventually, toward the end of that career, I didn't know it was going to be the end of the career, but toward the end of that career, I met the love of my life, and I got married to my wife, and I adopted her 2 children. I eventually left my corporate career to be a stay-at-home mom. I had the opportunity and the desire to be with those kids and see what kind of cool little humans I could create or help create or influence or generally mess up. Years later, probably 15 years later, I didn't do a bad job at all. Life turned and surprised me again, and my marriage didn't turn out the way that I had planned either. And I found myself with 2 children that were brinking on college, and in a little bitty house that I had bought when I was 25. And the prospect of a second chance at having and becoming the person and the creative that I always dreamed and wanted to be. And so I picked up my old guitar and I started to write again and record and perform, and the magic began. And as of June 6th, this past June, I released my very first debut album. It's called Where You Used to Be, which is kind of a strange way to state kind of the obvious. It represents where I came from and where I used to be. So it has been a magical journey that I love to be the poster child for second chance, especially for women that have followed their heart, whether it was around children or jobs or families or sometimes we get a second chance to be who we always thought that we might get to be and do what we, not that I didn't love my life, but there is a love in my heart for music and writing music that I did not think I would have the opportunity again to experience.
You know, it's interesting. I believe in second chances, but I think there are more than two chances in our life if we dedicate ourselves to what is really important to us. You know, as I hear your story, there's a lot of similarities. I didn't have to come out to my parents and tell them I was gay, but I had to come out to my parents to tell them I was marrying somebody who they did not want me to marry. And I had to live with that for 7 years. And then when we got divorced, I had to live through, we told you so. And I remember when I was told that, it was like, now what? Who am I? Okay. I thought I was a married woman. I thought I sort of had my parents' support, but they're telling me that they're really not happy with me. And yet I chose, I'm going to follow the path that I think is important to me. And my parents came around, I have to say that. But I've taken numerous paths over the years, but I didn't realize it when I was doing it. And I have a feeling you did that too. When you got into corporate America, got into IT, it wasn't, you didn't think of that as this is the steps I need to take to get to my next steps. But I realize it now. And that's why I encourage women like yourself, if you have a dream, go for it. And going for it, and let me ask you the question. When you started writing music and started performing in Austin, okay, I know Austin is filled with music, and there are a lot of places where you can go perform. And a lot of them you perform for either tips or maybe a free meal. But if you really want something badly enough, that's what you do. And that's what you did. You said, I'm going to make my voice out there. And maybe only one person at the bar is going to listen to me tonight. But that one person is going to tell somebody else. So what was that like for you the first time you walked in with your guitar and I'm performing tonight?
Are you talking about as I started on my second time where I'm performing?
Right.
I listened to a podcast that you had. I was listening to Brianna Weiss this morning about quieting your demons. Everyone has demons that whisper in their ear. Mine sounds vaguely like my mother.
That's typical for most women.
Sure. I mean, it's a powerful force. uh, it is always, it doesn't make any difference how many times I step on that stage or how many times I send a booking request or how many songwriting competitions I am in. It doesn't, every decision comes to the point where I sit at the table with one of those demons. And if, if I have this second chance, if I take this second chance, and I know there are thousands, but it just has a better ring to it as a
Sure.
songwriter to
I
say
agree.
second.
Yeah.
If I take this chance, I can no longer allow that demon to make me stop. There is no stopping to the personal and intimate questioning and self-doubt. Everyone walks with self-doubt. But I make a conscious choice whether I allow that voice to influence the choice that I make next. And it is constant. It is all the time. And of course, with each small, tiny success, big, huge success, the voice gets just a little less confident. That demon voice gets a little less confident, and I get a little stronger.
So when you went back to music, obviously you knew that you had the talent to write. You knew that you had the vocals to perform, which a lot of people don't know what they have if it's just been a dream in the back of their head. Um, because I remember when I started podcasting 15 years ago, somebody said to me, well, do you have the voice for podcasting? And all I could say was, we'll find out. Then they asked me, how do you have the ability, or where did you get the ability to interview people? And I said, I do it on a daily basis. You go into the grocery store, you say hi to the clerk, you ask for something. Those are interview skills. And I said, and I'm taking my everyday language to the podcast. And I had a lot of people say, oh, that's not talent. You can't do that. And at first, I had those voices telling me that. I remember when I booked my first guest, she happened to be a friend of the family who's a psychotherapist. And we had had many, many discussions offline. And I just said, I'd like to try this with you. And she said, okay. She's the only one initially who said, yeah, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And I didn't even know about how to post it on social media back then, but we sent it to a few friends and family members. And next thing we knew, we had people saying, when's she going to be back on? When are you going to do this again? So even though that voice was saying, yeah, Karen, you don't know how to do this. What was the worst thing that was going to happen? I was going to fail, but I had tried. And I think that's the point that I want to get out to women out there. Don't wait until you're 80, 90 years old sitting there going, boy, if I only had done this when I was 20, if I had only had done it when I was 40. Well, 60 was a good time to do it. Oh, I'm now 90. Well, you know what? If you have the energy and the will to do it at 90, go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell us about your song, because obviously it is your story. What was it like writing it, first of all?
My song?
Oh, yes.
My album?
Your album.
This
yeah,
album?
The album.
So I think that there's a common thread in songwriters. And I think that there's a common dream and a common desire. Um, that is that I hope that I can capture a feeling that someone might not be able to express in words what I have been able to capture in a song. I realized this morning that music does a lot of speaking for me. Um, I I listen to music most of the time. If I'm not playing music, I'm listening to music, and uh, that's the magic. That I think that I think that so long I lived in a spot where this is another demon. You're crazy. How could you be thinking those kind of things? Why would you, why can't you get over this? Why can't you? Oh my gosh, I wish they were here. My mother, the AIDS crisis, um, domestic abuse. There are secrets that all of us hold, not to keep them from anyone, but sometimes just because we don't have the words
Right.
to express them. My writing comes from a very, very personal spot. I am not, I have not, oh, I want to be very careful. I was going to say I have not mastered I can sit down, today I'm going to write a song, the end. Uh, I don't know if I ever want to master that skill, because most of the time my songs come from a deep insight, or the funny, the funny ones. It's one of those perspectives that you go, never thought about that. So I hope, my hope and my dream about songwriting is that I have the ability to express in a song, even if it's only for one person, something that they weren't able to find the words for, and that they don't feel alone because somebody else out there got it.
Yes, I totally understand that. I have a friend who wrote a song entitled Enough. And I was listening to it one day driving down the road. And it made me think of my mother who had just passed away. And in the song, they're wishing you enough. And I kept thinking, this is my mother. She's singing to me. She's telling me all this. So I sat down and I wrote him and I said, Jeff, thank you for that song. And I told him what it meant to me. And he said, we're close enough that I can tell you that's not where I was going with the song, but I'm so glad it helped you. And every time I hear it, I get this warm feeling that whatever conflicts I may have had with my mother in life, they dissolved because I know that she wishes me enough. And I've shared this song with both of my sons, and I've said, I know there are times that I come across that I know it all, and better leave it to mom to take care of things. And I said, but the answer is I really don't, because what I wish you is to be able to have enough. And so I think it's interesting as you write your songs, we may listen to them and say, it took on a totally different meaning, but it took on a meaning. It helped.
It is a dream. I know several songwriters that talk about their songwriting, and I try to stay personal enough to share my feeling and keep the situations out of it, or tell the situations and let people feel what they need to feel. It is very important, and I think that music is a beautiful universal language.
Yes, absolutely. So you are in a music town. I mean, Austin is is where everybody wants to go, number one, to hear music, let alone to perform. And I know they have South by Southwest every year, which draws millions of people. In fact, my oldest son, he's an attorney, but on the side, he manages bands. And so, I get an earful of what has happened in Austin. But what's it like on a daily basis to be able to get out and perform there? Because there are people who are thinking like you are, hey, I've got this talent. I want to do something with it.
I have been fortunate enough to come into contact with two very, very influential and significant groups of female musicians. One is called Wavemakers, and they are a business that supports female Austin musicians over 40 years old. I was the recipient of a grant from Wavemakers that finished my last leg of my album release. The contact and the world that they provided an entrance for me, the entrance was amazing. The other grant recipients have become close and dear comrades. I cheer for each of them. It was magical it was magical that I actually heard about the grant. It was unbelievably touching to receive it. The second group of women that I'm involved with is a Facebook group headed up by a woman named Jessica Forsyth, and it's called Harmony Sisters. And it as well is a group of female performers. And this is a very grassroots group in which the day-to-day struggles of booking and good and bad results from different venues, and a camaraderie that allows well, now I have a great access to some fantastic singer-songwriters that aren't performing at South by Southwest or Austin City Limits. They are talented songwriters. I was just fortunate enough to land my first residency gig, which means that I perform on a scheduled basis every other Sunday at what was just voted by the Austin Chronicle the best sports bar in Austin. It is a women's sports bar right in the heart of the University of Texas campus called 1972 Pub. It was a great year. And I curate and perform every other Sunday there, which opens the door for me to give back to these two groups of women that have supported me and encouraged me for some of the most difficult moments of this release, which means that someone that may not be gigging in the mainstream now has an opportunity. We song swap, or I give up the Sunday for another performer, but it is an opportunity for me to turn around the goodwill and the fortune that I have experienced on this second chance.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I want to give a shout out to the majority of indie performers and writers. When I first started doing podcasts with musicians, I started doing it because my oldest brother works, he does engineering. He's a music engineer by trade, but in his retirement years, he's engineering again. There's a place in upstate New York, and he is there almost on a daily basis. And I've been to the venue, and I have met so many wonderful people, but what I see them doing is helping each other. It's like, you know, Jeff is in the audience and he hasn't had a gig in a month. Jeff, come on up. And it's like, really? You want to share the spotlight? Because we don't necessarily see that with the so-called big name performers. It's their stage, their act, don't interfere. So I think all of you deserve, a round of applause because you're showing the rest of us how life should be led. We should be helping each other out. And sadly, we don't. It's all about, I have to get ahead. And if you're by my side, you might jump ahead of me. No, we have to all work together. And so, congratulations on your residency and just sharing with the world. How
Thank
can
you.
we find your album?
How would I what?
How can we find your album?
Oh, my website is alisontucker.com with one L, Alison, Tucker. I am on Instagram as Alison Tucker Music. You can find me on Facebook, Alison Tucker Music, Apple, Amazon, Pandora. I'm out there. All you have to do is spell my name right. I wanted to finish what you just said.
Sure.
One of the last songs that I wrote was exactly about that kindness that I have experienced. It's an unreleased song. It's available on my YouTube channel. Somebody shot a live video of it for me. It's called The Kindness of Strangers. And in a really difficult time in our nation right now, those moments that we experience kindness, sometimes from the most unexpected places, are kind of the energy
Yep.
and the best of what I believe in my country. Yep. And the kindness of strangers has brought me to you and has brought me this second chance in my life.
Well, I know you're going to have plenty more chances as you go forward. I am so ecstatic for doing this. And as I told Beatrice from the company that you come through,
Impact.
Yes, I said to her, if it weren't for me meeting her, I wouldn't get to meet people like you. And I know I have people in my own community that, I have independently met. And I'm so grateful for that because we don't realize how much good there is in this world until we start meeting real people. And I had this discussion with my son yesterday. He's going through a very tough time. And he reached out to a couple of his friends who he didn't realize how close they were to him. And their hearts opened up to him. And I just said, sometimes you have to be vulnerable, but there is kindness. And on a day where he thought there was only ignorance and meanness going on in the world, he said at the end of the day, he actually had a smile on his face. And that's how I feel meeting you and knowing that you have this album out and we're going to just post it and make sure that everybody listens to it.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Karen.
You.
Thank you for your time.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the time with you.
Thank you. And we'll stay in touch. Thanks, Alison.
Bye-bye.